Okay. In this video, we're going to learn how to control the camera like you're in a video game, walking around or flying to record the shot that you want. So let's start by deleting the cube and the empty object, or not empty object, the lamp. Keep the camera. Then let's add a mesh monkey head. And then let's add a landscape, and we'll come down to the bottom left, and let's change this to a large terrain, and let's change the mesh size of line X from 20 to 40, like so. Now we're just going to do something simple, like the monkey's head is a huge ancient artifact buried under the mountains or something crazy like that. So I'm just gonna move this around kind of in the middle so it looks like it's been buried and sticking up out of the mountains. Okay, next, let's just move our view here to the side, and we're going to move the camera over to this point by hitting Control-Alt-0. And now we have the camera view right in front of us. So we're going to talk about two ways to control this. You can do a flying movement and you can do a walking movement. Personally, I prefer the walk version, but I'll show you the fly version too, and you can pick which one seems to work best for you. So let's start by using the F3 button to search for fly, and you'll see fly navigation, and you're going to right click and add to quick favorites. You'll notice I've already done that. And once you've added that to quick favorites, let's then search for walk navigation, right click, add it to quick favorites. Once again, I've already done this. So when you finish, you can leave that. If you hit Q, you will see both of those options. So let's start by going into fly navigation. So if you'll notice, and it's hard for me to do this because my mouse is attached to the camera, but if you look at the very bottom, let me just escape. So you can see my mouse and you can see me flashing my cursor along this bottom edge. In a minute, you're going to see all the shortcuts related to the fly function. So when I'm talking, you can see at the bottom in a second what I'm talking about. So with Q and fly, you can see along the bottom, we have some options. So if you move your mouse, you'll notice that you're moving the camera around. If I left click, it confirms that view and will exit. So I'll need to go back in. If I move and look this way, but I right click, it's going to cancel that and move it back to where it was. Let's go back into fly navigation. We have W for forward. So if I tap W once, I'm going to continue slowly moving forward, and I can use the mouse to direct that in different directions. If I keep tapping W, I'm going to speed this up and start going really fast. Now, if I hit the letter S, it's going to stop. If I start tapping or hitting S now, I'm going to start going backwards. If I tap W, I'll stop. Hit W again, I'm going to go forwards. If I hit the A button, I'm going to the left. If I hit the D button, I'll stop. And then I hit D again, I will go to the right. Next, we have up and down. If I hit E, let's see, if I hit E, I go up. Q will stop, and then hit Q and I will go down. E to stop. And it looks like if I hold down the middle mouse wheel, I can kind of move left, right, up and down. Next, X and Z for axis lock. So I guess, and I've tried this before and it didn't seem to do a lot. I'm not quite sure what those two do. Oh, I guess you can toggle them on and off, but I'm not noticing much difference. And I don't usually use those, but you can play with it and see what happens. Alt If you hold down Alt, it's going to make your movements a little smaller with your mouse. If you hold Control, it says free look, so it looks like you can start to rotate the camera around or do something crazy. I'm not really sure. Okay, I see what Z and X do now. Z and X prevent your camera from rotating so that you're at an angle. Then we have the number pad plus and minus will increase or decrease the speed. So I hit W to go forward, and I hit the plus sign, that's going to increase the speed. Minus is going to decrease or then put us into negative values. So that will allow us to fly around our scene. Oh, let's go forward again. And then this will take some getting used to learn to control it efficiently. But this is the basics of the fly option. Now, I find this one a little bit harder to use. So let's now look at the walk navigation. A lot of these are similar, but the main difference, if I hold W and go forward and I let go of W, I stop. In fly mode, I press W and I keep going, which sometimes it's a little hard to control with that happening. So I'm going to hit number pad minus to reduce the speed to something like 1, close to 1. So now if I hit S, I go backwards. I let go of S, I stop. If I hit A, I go left, D right. If I hit W and A, I can do both of those. And in fly mode, I don't think you can use more than one direction at a time, whereas in walk mode, you have a little more flexibility to use forward and right, or backwards and left, to use those to get a little more control. E and Q will go up and down, and you stop when you let go of the button. Next, let's see, R and F. Okay, E and Q and R and F make you go up and down. The only time you're going to notice a difference is if your camera has been rotated at an angle. So for example, if I rotate my camera this way, and then I go back into walk mode, E and Q is going to go up and down in relation to the world. R and F is going to go up and down in relation to the top and the bottom of the camera. I'm just going to rotate my camera back. And let's go back to walk mode. You'll notice there's a jump and a teleport. So let's go on until you see gravity. So the tab key is going to turn on gravity. Well, it should turn on gravity. What have I done? So if I hit tab, it should turn on gravity. And for some reason, I'm not getting that to work right now. That usually works, and it's not working now. Let's see what I have done. I'm going to pause this for just a second. Okay, so what I've noticed, and I haven't figured out what I've done, but gravity is working, but it's offset from the ground for some reason. So if I hit the letter V, my guy looks like he's jumping like he's standing on the ground. If I hit tab again, V for jump doesn't work. So if I hit tab again, you can see that V will let me jump up and down. So I don't know what I did to lock the camera into place. I'm hoping yours doesn't do that. So if you hit tab, you should fall down to the ground. And then you're going, when you walk, let's see here. Oh, I hit the wrong button. So I'm going to hit tab and V to make sure I'm jumping. And then as I walk, you should be walking up and down in relation to the terrain. And like I said, my camera has somehow gotten offset, and I don't know what is causing that at the moment. So I'll just continue on, and if you run into trouble with that, let me know and I can come over and help you. Let's see. So the plus and minus on the number pad will increase how fast you're moving. If you want to use the jump, which is letter V, the period and comma will increase or decrease how far up you jump when you hit the button. Z is axis correction. So it looks like I'm in good shape there already. Let's go back to this. And if you look at a spot and hit the space bar, you're going to teleport over to that spot. Okay, so my advice is take a few minutes, play with this, and get used to one, and learn how to control it. And once you have done that, the next part will be actually recording the movement of the camera. So practice for a few minutes, and then come back to the video. So I'm going to assume you've had a chance to practice a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and change the end frame to a large number like 5,000, just so you have some room to practice. And we're going to look at the little circle to the left of the controls on the timeline. So we're going to hit this little circle. It's going to turn red, and this is going to automatically record any movements that we make while the animation is playing. So we don't have to individually insert keyframes. It's recording anytime we grab or rotate or scale an object. So you are going to have a few seconds from the time you hit play until you get the animation going. So you'll probably need to plan when you do your final render for a little dead time in front of it if you're trying to time movements with the train. But let's go ahead and we'll hit spacebar to start the animation playing. We'll hit Q, and I'm going to use the walk navigation, and then I'm just going to start flying around like it's a drone, and then the drone notices our large monkey sculpture buried in the mountains, and we're just going to move over to that, kind of go up and down, just try some different things to see what looks nice. And we're just going to get closer to observe this amazing discovery of the monkey statue buried in the ground. So fly around, do a little bit, and once you've got a little data to work with, you can pause the animation. And you'll see that we have tons of keyframes going along, and I'm just going to find where they end at around 820 on mine. I'm going to change the end frame to 820, and they start around 100. So we'll start the beginning frame to 100, and if I hit play, we're now going to see our camera reenact all of the movements that we made. You'll notice that it's very jerky because the controls aren't super smooth, and it's just hard when you're using a mouse and clicking buttons to get a nice fluid movement. So the next thing we want to do is to smooth out this movement to make it more useful. So let's go ahead and take our 3D viewport, come to the top right, and split this into two windows. And let's change the left one to the graph editor, which we used the other day. Now, if you hit Alt and let's see, no, if you hold Control and the middle mouse wheel, that will let you, use your mouse to zoom in and out a little more efficiently so you can get it all framed here together. And what I want to look at, let's just zoom in on this green one, which is probably the X location. And you can notice there are a bunch of points, lots of data, keyframes. And we don't need all of these. It's actually going to make it a little harder to smooth it if we have places that have huge gaps without keyframes and areas that have a bunch of keyframes all bunched up together. So the first thing we want to do is simplify and remove some of these keyframes that we don't need. So I'm going to hit A to make sure all of these are selected. Let me stop this for a second. And let's zoom in so I can see this a little more clearly. So once again, hit A to make sure everything is selected. We're going to go to key, to density, and let's use decimate ratio. Actually, no, let's hit escape and let's change that. Let's do decimate allowed change. So this will allow us to come down to this menu and we can type in a number and we can kind of see how this is working. So if I put 0.01, you can see that a lot of these disappeared. If I put 0.005, some of those come back. And it's really going to be a matter of trial and error to see what works best. So what I would do is just undo that by hitting Control Z, save this wherever you want to save it, and then make a change. If that works, great. If not, you can reload the one or save and then try again. So let's just go to T again, density, and decimate, allow change. And I'm just going to do 0.01 just to see how this goes. So that's the first step of removing some of these keyframes so you don't have quite as many. Now, I'm going to look at an area that has a lot of choppy up and down movement. And now, once again, make sure you hit A so all of these are selected. You can do it all at once. Let's go to T, and we're going to smooth. And there are 3 ways to do this. They all work a little differently. So I would try each one to see what works best for you, and I'll kind of show you real quick. But let's look at the Butterworth Smooth first. And I find this one to be the most temperamental because you can notice that at the top I have this little slider, and not much happens as I move it to the left. And if I get a little closer, you can see it starts to smooth out. It smooths out a little, and then if I go too much, it just goes almost flat and does crazy things. So I find this one the most difficult to use. So I'm going to hit escape so that doesn't apply. Then I'm going to go back to smooth, and I'm going to try legacy. And legacy, oh, what did I hit there? Let's go back to keyframe, smooth, legacy. And what should be happening, and for some reason it's not, as you move your mouse, it should be adjusting those. But it's not happening for me. So let me just hit Control Z to go back a couple steps to see if I did something. All right. So this is where I decimated. Let me do that. Now let's go back to smooth, legacy. And it looks like it just did its own thing. And I don't really like that either. So I'm going to hit Control Z, undo that. And last, I'm going to do smooth Gaussian. And this, you can see there's a value at the top. Or you can click and use this, and you can start to see the effect it's having here on the screen if I smooth that out. Now, I've watched a few tutorials on this, and sometimes you just have to keep doing that. So I did it once. I'm going to go back, smooth, and add this to the quick favorite. So I can hit Q, smooth, drag this to the right, Q, smooth, drag it to the right, and just repeat this process several times to smooth them out. And then when you hit play, your camera movement should be a bit smoother. Now, depending on how jerky it was to start with, you may have to add 10, 20, 30 smoothing effects to get this to go as smooth as you need. And it's not a perfect way to do this, but it gives you a more natural result than trying to have a curve and trying to move every bit of that curve. So take this, play with it. If you don't like the camera movement you have, you can select the camera, open the property shelf, and just right click and clear keyframes, and then go back and just start the beginning and re-record this. So practice this, get where you feel like you can control it and get a result that you want. And in the next video, we'll start talking about and preparing what you need to do to record a couple of videos from your train animation file.